Hello, we are the team of God's Broken Things. We'll go around and introduce who we all are. Start with your fine self.
Okay, so I'm Alastair Railton. I'm the producer and editor for God's Broken Things. Also the owner of Fresh Air Films and Media, the company that's behind this wonderful production here. So, yeah.
Hello, I'm Joe Facer. I'm an actor who plays Matthew, the writer and director of God's Broken Things.
Hello, I am Mark Wisdom. I'm an actor and I play Richard in God's Broken Things. Also did a bit of the writing and directing as well.
And I'm Adam Sandy. I'm the cinematographer of God's Broken Things.
Right.
So, shall we talk about what the film actually is about? I think to give an audience the
flavour.
Yeah, the flavour of what is to come when it is officially released.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, so it's set in a church. Obviously, it's about a vicar and his troubles and his friend. But I think it's more than just about the religious elements of the film. I think obviously it's in a church, the fine church of St. Denis of Morton, and we have the vicar collar, etc., and where we are. But I think it's about being human. I think that's the main part of it. I think it's about humanity and how everyone is, no matter where you come from and no matter what job you have, we all have the human problems, and this dictates everything.
Yeah.
So when the film opens, you see Matthew, who's in a church by himself at night time, and that's really human to be alone.
Yeah.
Especially for a vicar, a man of God, to be in the house of God by himself. That just conveys the whole humanity for me.
Yeah, agreed. And one of the things when we were doing some research pre-production was just trying to get an authenticity to the role of being a vicar or someone in charge of church, in charge of a community, really. And one of the things was try not to go for cliches and things, try and be honest and original. And this came from the local reverend's words himself. Like, try and, realise that vicars and reverends and all that, they're all people too, and they've all got their own lives and their own interests and their own backstory, if you like. And I think we really tried to just build on what you said, like try to build that into the story as well. Like this entire thing is just removed from what we imagine as taking place in a vicar's life, but it's completely possible, we feel,
Definitely,
for them to have different troubles and different issues, and it can lead to some quite substantial and intense events, we think.
And it's also the flaws that everyone has, and also I guess that you it's not like black and white with who you want to side with at any time throughout. There's that's what I like about it as well. There's no real point where it's like everyone's rooting for either one of them. It's like there's just variation. There's grey areas in both of the characters,
so
definitely,
and that's just I just found that a lot more three-dimensional to like be a part of something with characters like that.
People resonate well with characters like that. They kind of it's not just as simple as kind of the good guys and the bad guys anymore. People kind of want to see, as you say, these three-dimensional characters who kind of are swaying between the balance. It's not as black and white as good and evil. And
I mean, look at the big TV shows now, Game of Thrones,
Absolutely.
Walking Dead, for example.
Yeah.
They all feature very prominent characters who aren't good guys, and they all do bad things. It's just based on the choices they make in certain situations.
Definitely.
And there are definitely some choices made in this story which affect everyone else and the forthcoming events. So it's quite human, I think.
Well, the character of Richard, I mean, he's compared to, so Matthew was the vicar and Richard works just your standard job as it was. And these two people, I don't know how you guys feel, different occupations, but the same issues, which is what makes us human. And people don't really talk about, like you see these global superstars, and I'm not saying like, yeah, you see these people like the footballers, for example. You think football's got all the money in the world, got all the cars.
What problems could they have?
Yeah, what problems could they have? And that's the same with like the character of Matthew. He's a vicar. Surely his life is like devoted to God. He's not done anything wrong. Yeah. And it's the same with Richard as well. Richard's this guy who's literally done nothing wrong, but is the victim of circumstance. And that is also another big element of being human. That you can be the most purest human being in the world, but people make actions that affect you, therefore you can't escape.
And obviously the reactions come in then based on what's happened.
Yes.
And you can never predict what somebody's going to, how they're going to react to things.
Yes.
And that's where we get stories and drama. And I think that's hopefully what we've brought across with various different things, with the cinematography, with the sound, with everything. I think that's what we tried to do, was just to get that human element of surprise, shock and fear and...
I guess it's the relatability of the characters as well.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be nothing if you didn't feel like you could connect with either of the characters. You have to be invested in both of the characters in some regard, I think.
Otherwise, you do just see them as bad people.
And I'm not sure like how often you do see a vicar portrayed like as a relatable thing. If you're not too much like into religion, then
exactly
not.
They're usually just quite literally the cliche vicar. That's,
which is something we really wanted to avoid.
Yeah.
I would definitely say.
And we did.
Yeah,
we did definitely.
Yeah, feedback's been good from it. Yeah, I think we've definitely avoided any pitfalls, and
which was the main thing. Like, this could have come across so cliche, and so a bit ridiculous. I think it could have been pulled off in that way. Like,
it was a very natural story, natural, like say commonplace, possible story, without giving too much away. I can't give anything away.
Or you can say so. It's fine.
What can I say?
Something doesn't give spoilers. Something that the audience knows at the start.
Human relationships and how we interact with our friends, and how our relationship with our friends can be affected by something.
Yes.
Something so catastrophic, which it just changes the course that your life is going on and makes you go in a complete opposite direction, and the follow-ons from that, essentially. It's very vague, of course, but that's as much as I can say, I suppose.
I think it's also about, now forgive me if I'm wrong, the heat of the moment. I'm thinking about it now, it's all about being in situations where things just happen. You don't anticipate these things to happen. But when they present themselves, it doesn't go the way you could possibly even imagine. And I think there's moments in the film that these things just, you understand why they do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, we've all been in situations where, in the heat of the moment, it happens like, oh, why did I do that? Oh dear. And this film has many of those, I feel.
I think as well it's interesting because both of the characters are looking for help in like two separate ways, and one of them being the vicar who is asking for help from God, and the other one not being really a man of God is still looking for help
from a friend, really.
And like, so there's so many like parallels and similarities between the two characters. I think like there's major differences and the ways that they react to problems, like you said, in the heat of the moment. But essentially, it kind of boils down to the same thing, and also they're like making of in their younger days and everything.
Definitely, that's really interesting.
So, just maybe we'll go down a slightly different route now. So we talked about the characters, but maybe gone on to a more technical side of things.
Yes,
because we all did different things We all did new things, I would say, for this film. We all experimented with a few different disciplines. To name one where Mr. Alastair became the one and only sound guy for our film. Not necessarily by choice, but performed the job admirably.
Incredible.
It was a pleasure having you there with the boom.
Do you know what? I having done it, I think I said this to you guys on the set, I have great respect now for, even more respect, for sound recordists and the contribution they make in films, because you do kind of sometimes overlook sound. Everyone wants the perfect visual, which is right, absolutely, and everyone is always drawn to the camera and the shot and everything. That sound can get neglected, and you kind of, as a sound recordist, it's kind of you're very much in your own world, and you have to deliver the right sort of technical know-how, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you think to the location? Did it help with the sound? Because obviously there's a bit of a natural echo,
which is great. I think, and a bit of natural reverb, especially in a church.
Yeah,
it really gives it something. Definitely.
The acoustics, just beautiful.
Yeah, 100%.
In the same way as well with the lighting, in the day, the light's just nice in old buildings like this. So that was, I think a lot of what we did was utilising what we actually had there, and that's why it was so nice to actually have this church. I was slightly concerned when I first heard about the project as to how big the church would be, like how small the church would be, because you say you say a church, but there's so many different types of churches. But as soon as we came in here, I think we felt like we could do something with it, and it wasn't like too much of a big scale or small scale. There was like room to move, and just not a vast open area to. I think the story. I think it's the church forms like a good box for the story to fit in, kind of thing, and an area to play with. Whereas if it had been a massive area to play with, it might have subconsciously looked like you were really small characters in the church. But this seems like you inhabited it well. I think like two people could.
Yeah. I mean, with the church itself, when we initially wrote the script, there was a scene, so when Richard enters, it was written that there was a separate office in the church. Do you like?
I remember,
and then obviously we had to adapt for this, but it worked so much better that way.
Yeah,
I feel, and like as you said about the actual church itself, like the size of it, just the atmosphere, and when you watch it back, you can just feel the tension. Yeah, because it's big, but it's small.
Yeah,
like
I love how
it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love how it's happening in one room as well.
Perfect.
And like that's what we tried to, just to start off with, deciding what side of the room we wanted to play things out on, and then also I think it's really nice how things happen when you're in the seats this side, and then things happen when we're in the middle, and normally there's always going to be looking towards God is like the central kind of area, and then you can a lot of the God related elements of the film I think happens within this central area, and then the ones where it's more intimate between your two characters happen in the scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is really nice to think about. Like you said that we were going to have an office, but now that we didn't have an office, we had to have like an area of the church to do different things in, and dramatic moments tend to happen in this central area, and more intimate moments, I guess, happen in the scenes.
Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it, actually.
Yeah, that's spot on.
See, that's one thing definitely to point out is the fact that obviously me and Joe were creating this story, and then there's so many more elements to it. Obviously, you need to get the sound right and the cinematography, but there's so much more that we had and it was this vision of the entire thing, the setting, the theme, and the hardest thing I think for me was that I think having trust in people to understand what we were going for, I would say.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Especially as we were directing ourselves and we'd never done that before, and just having that those people that understood what we were going for. And I've got to say, both of you, I mean, I think you probably understood it better than I did, the whole thing. So, but you were able to work it into what you did with the shots and the camera angles. And I think you talked about like you just said, keeping everything in particular channels. So you have particular events happening in each place, and that is just, I mean, I would never have thought of that personally. And I think it comes with the discipline that you focus in.
Yeah. Would you say that you two were, and also Al as well, because you direct as well, but would you say that you're visual directors, or would you say that you're more, I guess, like performance-based directors?
Ooh.
I don't know if that's like the two options, but like whatever. How do you feel?
I think personally, performance-based. I think, although visuals,
Yeah,
that's a
like,
tough one.
Because obviously, when I'm looking at the script, I can kind of and your initial shot lists as well. I can kind of see that there's some visuality to it, and there's some like there's understanding that you want something to be in a certain way, but then like some directors like maybe storyboard it exactly how it needs to be. And I think your shot list was a good indication of where you were thinking visually. But then, I'd say it was good to you focusing on the performance side of it, because there was so much to do, because you were acting and directing. It was probably good to like hand some of that stuff off to me, or else you'd just be doing everything.
But it was
sorry,
after you.
Oh no, go on, you go first.
After you.
So I think the best directors will be able to do both. A performance director and a visual director, 100%. I think you guys will agree. I think, but at the same time, it's not necessarily dictating. I want these shots. I want this performance. I'm a big believer in kind of you go and trust people to kind of. They know their craft, and you've got to let them experiment with that. So
I definitely felt that in this film.
100%.
So I'm thankful for the trust that you guys had in me to actually do.
Well, I think
something.
One thing I noticed, and because we filmed during the night time for the vast majority of the time, I mean, we sat down to the shot list, and before the shoot, I would have said, "Yeah, I know exactly what we're going to do," and then you get to 3 o'clock in the morning, and you think, "Well, what have we got? What have we got? What have we filmed? What day of the week is it?" And then it's good to have someone there that actually knows what they're talking about. So
I think that there was like there wasn't much issue. There was nothing really missed.
No, we kept a pretty tight schedule.
Tight schedule. But good. We got a shoot day off,
which was definitely needed.
It would have been a bit crazy to like. So the original plan was to 4 nights, and then the day after that, the morning after that, last night. So we would have been then starting. When were we starting? About 6, 7 at night. Or like getting here and setting up ready for sunset at like 10ish, and then so we'd have been starting at about 6 or 7ish, and finishing at about 1 in the afternoon the next day.
That would have been mad.
So that's hallucination territory.
That would have been. Even though it was a hard shoot in the sense of being tired and the time, but it was amazing experience. I think the on-set chemistry between us 4 was like phenomenal. I've never felt so comfortable.
That could have really made or broke it as well, because it was just us 4 in this room.
But we clicked. I mean, it was.
And it was the first time that I've worked with you guys. I've worked with Al before, and you guys have worked on.
Yeah, so it could be
One
very,
project,
very.
yeah.
Obviously, we could have had pre-jokes and things that we already talked about, but no, none of that. I don't think so. I think it felt like you just slotted in just so well because, and I think it comes like we all do respect each other's what we bring, and we can only really say, I guess, thank you to everyone for bringing what they can to it and showing all the full range of what they want to experiment with. Like the biggest thing that I remember is when we were doing the shoot the extras, we'd had a shot planned, but I think you saw something that we could carry on and like continue the shot that we had planned and continue it and keep watching a moment which was taking place just by the extras just acting in their own way. And I think seeing that, and you start to understand why we all love you being there, because you see moments. And the same again with you, Al. Like we both trust your opinion as a director, that you've been a director beforehand. So if there's a moment where we felt unsure if our performances were good enough, we could say, "Oh, Al, is this looking good from a performance side of you?" Because we trust that opinion. And I think that it's trust. I think is for me the buzzword for the film
100%.
is the trust that we all had in each other, and obviously we're now all good friends.
That's the main thing. We've come out of this like 4 good friends, and and I think why I love this project so much is because it's all 4 of us. It's our little baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't know how you guys feel about that. But
I'll take that.
whenever I watch it again in the future, it'll be like, oh, us 4.
Yeah,
It's
it's
absolutely
like capturing this moment in time,
Literally.
I think,
where we all are in careers. And
Yeah, which is amazing.
But I think like what you were saying about people bringing their thing to the party is like that's the same with anyone who I've worked with as well. Like if they, I think a lot of us on the behind the camera side come from a filmmaking background where you've had to do like a bit of audio stuff and you've had to do a bit of everything, a bit of directing, even if you're the cinematographer. So I think everyone has generally an understanding of how to do a project like start to finish. And I definitely feel like for me, the elements that are excluding cinematography, I can only get them to about 80% complete, and they look decent at 80%. But I think if you got like a professional person that's all they do and they concentrate all their efforts on that one area, like sound or like editing or color grading or whatever, if they're concentrating all their efforts on that, they can get it the full 100%. And I feel like I can only really do that with cinematography, and maybe you, Al, feel a similar kind of way, having come from a similar kind of background as me, and having to do everything. And then when you hand something off, you're like, well, I wouldn't have thought to do that thing, and then they take it to the next level. Like you could do everything yourself, but it would only get so far.
Yeah, and that's always the debate, isn't it? It's like, and it's having that trust to kind of give up something, especially when you it is, and when you're so invested in it, and sometimes you kind of, because you know exactly how it's going to look. We'll go back to that trust word again, and it's trust, and kind of giving up that kind of control is part of that. But it's essential to successful filmmaking. You have to know that people understand their craft. And
I do also think though, like the director, as soon as you have written the script, and as soon as you like handed the script to Al and then handed the script to me, it's no longer your script kind of thing. It then becomes everyone's thing. And obviously you're the directors, so you know what you kind of want and what you're expecting from something, but it's like, I think you have to let go to some extent, and but it's interesting how you let go, and different people do it in different ways and that, but I think it just clicked quite well for us on this.
Definitely. It was a special little shoot.
Yeah. So maybe just flip it then. What was difficult, or what would you maybe have done differently, or found challenging?
Not work with you three.
We'll start with you, Joe.
What would I have done
What
differently?
would you have done differently?
I think
I mean, you could say nothing if it was that good.
for what we had, for the budget we had, for the people we had. Okay, I think saying what Adam has just said.
I thought you forgot my name.
What?
This guy. What is this guy?
Well, Adam said about having a particular person focusing on one thing. Obviously, it would have been more, possibly, efficient. No, we were quite efficient, but like the overall product itself, having one sole director, then the actors, then the producer, then one person on sound, then one person makeup, because you had to do makeup and stuff, didn't you, as well? and then Ant came in and he did stuff with us, like.
Well, he was just taking behind the scenes photos,
Yeah.
but then ended up
Yeah.
doing stuff because.
And I think enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I would like to think
It would have been great to have like Ant there as well, possibly the entire time, like having the assistants
Yeah.
there.
Someone there to assist on things.
I think that's the only thing I would do differently. No, because I enjoyed this, like the special moments of just us four. That made it what it was for me.
Yeah.
But then for the actual product itself and the end film, maybe it would have benefited from a bigger crew.
True. But then also it's also a credit to everyone involved.
Yes,
that
definitely.
That we did have a small crew and did make something fantastic at the end of it. Do you know what
That's
I mean?
what. Yeah. So
it's-
I don't think I would change. I don't think I would then.
I think
it's definitely
for
a credit
me,
to everyone.
Definitely.
like early on, I like thought to myself, because it's like the first like proper narrative short film that I've done as a cinematographer, having done like bits and bobs before with music videos and stuff, I kind of had to think to myself to accept the way that it turns out, that it's I think you can be like restricted by your fear of like it's not going to be the best cinematography in the world, which like there's not much chance of it being the best cinematography of the world when it's like your first outing at doing something like that. So I think for me something that really helped me was like accepting that it's gonna be the best that it can be right now, and in a year's time it's probably not going to be as good as how it is now. And I think that's probably something that we all kind of accepted there and then, and that's what kind of made it like a time capsule type thing for us, that it is
100%.
that now. And in the weeks, months since we've finished, we could probably have done a better job if we did it now, but
100%.
it's just accepting that in that time and in that moment it was the way that it needed to be, and not being precious with it, I guess.
Yeah. But as Al just said, it's a credit to us.
Yeah.
Us four did that, which is like, I'm very proud of what we've done.
Yeah.
I think it's. I mean, we had the screening last night, didn't we? And,
We did. We did.
That went down well.
Yes.
Yeah. Very informative comments, I'll have to say.
Yes.
Sometimes you go to the screenings and you think, oh, people are just going to pick up every single detail, or they're just going to slate it because they have the opportunity to do so.
Or not say anything at
Or
all.
not say anything, and you're left
Say,
to
yeah,
say,
that was good.
But it was so useful, and it was because we had just been in this small group. I hope this is where you would go.
Yeah.
It's like just opening it up
Yeah.
to other people,
100%.
and just seeing what they would have maybe done, or what they thought of our decisions creatively, and yeah, I don't necessarily agree with everything that they said, but I understood where they were coming from, and would absolutely take their advice for the next film. And
Yeah.
Also, there's like, have you heard the thing like when someone's giving you a note on something that it's probably not what they're actually giving a note about that is the issue. Like if they're giving a note about what happens 1 minute in, they might be saying that's wrong, but it's actually a problem with like 30 seconds previous to that, and like it's not actually. It might not be that, because you can't be. It's really interesting to get people's opinions that aren't technical, because we're going through it,
true.
making sure that all the technical bits are right. And then if someone says that it's not working right at this point in it, it might not be that shot. It might be the fact that a shot's missing.
Right. Okay. So
before.
because you've had to do that shot, because you've done that shot, the subsequent shots afterwards are
Yeah,
affected
and
by
they
it.
think that it's feeling odd or something,
Yeah.
and they think that it's that, but it might be something completely different.
Makes sense.
So all of those notes are still like, helpful
Yeah. True.
with that,
True.
and maybe that was the case with what some people said. But yeah, I think it was good feedback.
Very, very good feedback.
If you guys were going to make it a feature film, how would you go about it? It's a big question. So I always think about any film I've done, like if I was making it a feature or a mini series.
Well, we did discuss this like a bit, and we discussed it last night as well. And because there are so many avenues you could go with it, you could either go prior to the events of what we have, or after. And I would love to explore both. I think prior to, you really get the sense of you build on the characters, obviously, and you build on the sort of dialogue elements that we added in as teasers, like a little mystery clues and things, and you can build on that. Yeah. Whether it would have aided the final story, not sure, but to lead up to that climactic scene towards the end, possibly. Yeah. But then maybe you lose the shock factor of it all. I don't know. Doing anything afterwards, I think, again, you maybe lose something. I mean, what story would you tell? I can't necessarily think of a story straight away. Because, I mean, all the writing we did was based on the clues that we put in the dialogue for events previous. Yeah. So I think you'd have to do that and maybe cover the car crash that is often mentioned by the characters and things like that. We've said about that.
And delve into the history, and delve into the third character, who I will not name.
Yes, the mysterious third character.
Like, you could delve into that, I suppose. Would be a different option. Yeah. Because that character is there, and that's essentially the main character is the third character. If you look at it in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it affects both of their lives.
That is the centre of the story. Like, so maybe it would be.
Yeah, well, their actions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All from this person. So that would be a route to explore, I believe. But then there's the argument that if you do that, does it lose the whole condensed?
Yeah. Because equally, it's also very fair to say that some films are just meant to be short films. Yes. And they're much better as short films, you know.
Well, and then we also discussed last night about how we'd do it if it was 5 minutes long. So you say, how would you do it if it was like an hour and a half long or whatever? Yeah. And that's also difficult to think about. If you could condense it into the most condensed way, what form would that be? And I think that
would be interesting.
Yeah, I think there's definitely thought to be done like now, and to take on to the next things that we do about whether like it needed to be 5 minutes longer or 5 minutes shorter or whatever. And then, but that's just like what I was saying about accepting it now, and that this is like the 22-minute film, and next time round there's no point in doing anything if you don't know what to do next time round.
Exactly.
Gives you experience. So
absolutely,
it would be fascinating to see a 5-minute director's cut, or not whatever. You know, like a 5-minute cut, to see what could possibly, like, from the footage we have.
Is that a challenge there?
Yes. I think that would be really fascinating to see because it would. I think
magic happens in the edit. So you could see or really test somebody.
Yeah, because also then you need to then next time around know how to do that in the script, so that there's no point in filming all of that. Yeah. So you can be even more efficient. So editing in the script even before you get to that stage.
I think if you were going to make it a micro short, 5 minutes long, I would start with the opening scene being the climax of the film.
Would you?
And you keep going back to that point as to why is Richard doing this, and you keep jumping back to specific dialogue that happens during the during the rest of the film, but like only short snippets of it. I think that's how you do it.
I think it needs restructuring.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
And the whole pace of the film would be so like it's a very slow film.
Yeah.
It's a very building. Like every little beat, as it was, adds more
to something.
Yeah, and then the end just like which is I really enjoy. But for a short film, obviously it's going to be quicker. But the whole that's like you said about the Richard bit. I think it would have to change the whole thing of it, which would be really interesting to see.
You'd want to build it to the same level that it builds to anyway, but obviously you'd have to find a way where you can build like 0 to 100 in 5 minutes as opposed to 0 to 100 in 20 minutes, and that's probably you don't want to go straight up. So in that short amount of time, so I guess that would be where the back and forth kind of because that can.
Because I mean, the only reason why our climax works, I think, is because you have the time to build a characterization in there. With 5 minutes, you'd lose so much of the reasons why and motivations.
I think so.
So agreed that the structure of it would have to change. If you were to extend it to a feature.
That would need
that would be
more story probably.
And it's, the danger there as well would be losing the whole
power of it.
So maybe it is just meant to be. I think it is, personally. I think the 20 minutes of it.
Although it would be a good challenge as for actors and bringing in visually and sound as well. That would necessarily be your responsibility next time. But how to because each I mean we've discussed this before. I think me and Greg discussed this. He built a theme songs for each character and to have that run and go through the film.
Yes.
And, they do that in Star Wars and things like that. And to just extend it out so you can keep bringing people back to the theme of each character and story. So we would, as actors, we would love to extend the project just so we can get into the nitty gritty of the characters. But I would be fascinated to see how you, for example, brought it in visually, even if we're in different locations, how you would continue the
because the whole structure was based on here,
and the sound, whether you'd be doing it or not, whether it would factor in throughout. And I think one thing I think we were missing was actually tailored music. And I think that if I was ever to do a project again, I'd get someone in that just knows music inside and out. Or hopefully they'd be on sound as well, they can do that, but just knows it, that's their thing.
Yeah, because
that's
bring out
when
the power of the scene.
Yeah, that's when you start expanding the crew, and it could have happened in post-production, even if it was just us four in production. We could have gone further by getting like someone to mix the sound and getting someone to score it and all those things.
Costs.
Yeah.
Time. Costs.
But yeah, those are again the things that I think that we can get up to like 80%, but then someone else can
to just
really
take it.
Yeah, and that's where you want to be working, where every step of the process is being taken to 100% ideally, and that's something that we're all, I guess, striving for on the next things that we do. Is that a good time to go?
What happens next?
So shall clever. That was. So shall we say what's next, and quickly before that, the final product? Give it a word. How you would describe the final product? Sorry to put you on the spot here, boys.
You're going first, then. With that challenge.
So one word to describe the film, or you can have more. I'll be lenient. I think human.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very human story.
Yeah.
Alastair?
I think emotion comes to mind. I mean, I know every film is all about emotion, absolutely, but it's the kind of the roller coaster of emotion that all characters are going through in the film. I think really sums it up.
Yeah.
And I guess, going to your human point, we are all going through an emotional roller coaster in all our lives.
Yeah.
I think it was very appropriate, very accurate depiction of it. So, yeah.
Okay. Action, reaction. Because I don't really think anyone really knows what they're doing, what life is all about. And it is just a series of people's actions which lead to the next thing, good or bad.
Yeah.
That's it. That's mine.
I'd say flaws.
Flaws.
Yeah.
Where we was
Well, I have laid on that floor before. That was quite uncomfortable. Oh, just for a rest. So to wrap it all up, boys,
What's up next?
we'll go from Adam to Mark to moi to Mr. Railton himself and finish on the big boy. Fresh Air Films. The award winning. Yeah.
My head's going.
For me, it's just concentrating more on narrative stuff and concentrating more on making the images that I create mean more on each project going forwards, and in reality that will just be more music videos, more short films and stuff. So
Yeah.
more of the same.
And hopefully, with us or with some of us.
No,
Never again.
yeah,
We've had enough.
with other people, I think it's probably best.
Anyone else?
It would be good to work together, parts
Absolutely.
of us four or all of us four again, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%. I am taking a bit of a break from film stuff, screen stuff, and doing some children's theatre, which would be interesting. We'll see how it goes. So it's very, very different to this experience. But I don't know, I'm really excited. I think the audience of children is the most honest audience you could probably ever have. So if it's bad, I'll know about it. I'm just looking forward to the challenge. Yeah, and then afterwards, more films. Why not? More.
Nothing for me until next September, once I finish training at Drama Centre.
Yeah.
But
That's a very important part, though. You're not just like sitting down on the couch. Or
oh
something.
yeah, so
You're working hard.
I'm doing the long days at drama school, which is quite the challenge, but really fun. So that should be
Learning a lot.
learning a lot. My head feels achy all the time. I feel my body is aching. Everything is aching, guys. It's,
Everything.
even my heart.
And of course.
Okay, so exciting things for Fresh Air Films and Media coming up. The next short, The Prison, which we've applied for BFI funding for, so fingers crossed we get that. But that'll be the next short film that will be coming out. On top of that, we've also got the first feature, which is written, ready to go. So that's exciting times. And a mini series which is on its way, so that's all good. And unluckily for these guys, I see the talent in all three of them, so they haven't heard the last of me yet, so I'll be working with all three of them again, so looking forward to it.
Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
Fingers crossed the film gets the recognition we hope it deserves. One last thing, we currently entering film festivals. We have won acceptance to the Rome Independent Prisma Awards, which is really exciting, which we should find out about any nominations possibly very soon. And we'll keep everyone updated on the Twitter and the Twitter or the Instagram of Mark. Mark's got to be there, and Al and Adam. We've all have Instagram. Follow us, guys.
So none of us know how to kind of work it, so it might not be presented so well.
But thank you so much, and we hope you enjoyed the film. And here's the trailer.
When Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights in the desert, the devil presented himself to the Son of God in the hopes of tempting him to sin. But Jesus, in the face of the ultimate evil, resisted. And how? Because he was honest. Honest with God. honest with his faith, honest with himself.